have a zoological textbook from like 1880 some.
Yeah.
And it says that hyenas' neck bones fuse as they age. Now, this might be striped hyenas. The drawing is not the most accurate.
Yeah, they were running hyenas together for a long time, almost, indistinguishably between them. I believe that all hyenas have that. That's actually that I did not study. They do have the long, sturdy necks for picking up heavy things, and they don't really look around very much. When they fight, they basically nip at each other's rear ends. I would have to look that up, and thank you for bringing up the one question I haven't studied. Awesome!
My pleasure.
Yes. Anybody else? Yes.
Have you been to Wolf Park in Indiana before?
I have not. Have you?
Well, I worked there for a while.
You worked there for a while. Hold up your fingers. How many you have left?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay, all right. Yeah.
So, the time I was there were about a dozen wolves in the active pack, half a dozen wolves in the quote-unquote retirement areas, where there'd be just 2 or 3, a lot of bison, coyote, 4 wolves. It's been a while. But, yeah, so it's been a while, but they probably have a similar composition these days too. And it's no hyenas, but you can still get close and see the behavior. And if you know the staff well enough, maybe get inside. And when you mentioned about hyenas eating everything from their prey, it's similar with wolves sans the bones, but they do. The fur actually has a function where when the wolves are eating the fur off the killed animal, it acts as dental floss for them. And so wolves in the wild, as they age, they don't get as much tooth loss as domestic dogs or wolves just being that custody.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of fiber in that too.
Probably.
Yeah, that's very interesting. The hyenas that I took pictures of earlier in the slideshow presentation were at a small roadside zoo in Texas called the Snake Farm Zoo, and I was just thrilled to bits because it was like, there is a hyena. And the funny thing you said about observing the behavior is, okay, they sleep a lot, and they get up and they walk around and they look to see if their lunch wagon is coming. And then they go lay down for a little while, and they get to see if the lunch wagon's coming. And then the guy showed up with the lunch wagon, which had the raw chicken in it. And they were all attention there. I mean, I wish I could include these slides, because everything went, here's one of the eyes, and they were just fixated. And then they started giggling, that. And then they went into the grading ceremony, which I had taken, and what they do is they stand nose to tail and they lift their legs and they sniff under their legs and say, okay, yeah, you're the same guy you were 5 minutes ago. Okay, great. Both of their hyenas were males. So, oops. And the fellow gave us a little talk about the hyenas, and he's feeding them, shoving chicken in through this chain link fence at them, and they were standing about this high and taking the chicken. It was cute. It was adorable. But they're not easy to find in zoos because people just don't like them. They think they're disgusting. They think they're boring. They would rather watch an orangutan picking its nose or a panda sitting there shoving back bamboo or something. It would be nice if they had more of them. I've looked around for zoos. I think there's a zoo in New Jersey that has a hyena, and the Denver Zoo, I think, has just had some babies born within the last few years. Unfortunately, the Berkeley pack, which was the domestic, or not domestic, but the pack that they had that they were studying out in California, was shut down, and then the hyenas were dispersed. And I don't know for sure, but an awful lot of stuffed hyenas showed up on eBay about that time. So, but apparently they all went to different zoos. Any other questions? Like, why am I doing this? Yes.
This is just a comment, but the Buffalo Zoo does have 2 hyenas.
Oh, that's very good. Are they made of pair or?
I believe so.
Okay. You must have a home. Yes.
Just a quick question, because as you mentioned that there are not a lot of hyenas being kept in zoos, so I wonder, the ones we are actually keeping in zoos, does that process actually alter their behavior in general or even social behavior?
I believe so. The ones I saw, hyenas are very easy to tame. And, you know, I said that they don't make very good pets, but people have had them as pets. And, you know, in Harar, Ethiopia, there are guys out there, the hyena men, who will feed the hyenas every night. The hyenas come in, they will eat off of sticks, and, you know, the guy will have a piece of meat on the stick. So I believe that, yes, having them captive and domesticated changes their behavior because they don't have to hunt now. And I don't know if any zoos like say, okay, here's the donkey from the petting zoo, and he's looking at the game. All right, can you go? Yeah, I don't think anybody does that. All right. So the hyenas basically just lie around and wait for the food to show up. In the wild, they are largely nocturnal. They do come out during the day and do stuff. They walk around, they wallow, they go visiting with each other. They will keep all their cubs in a communal den, as I said before, and bring some bones back for the babies to play with, and then eventually take the babies out on longer and longer hunts. So I don't really think studying, to address your question, I don't think studying hyenas in a zoo would give you the full idea of what a hyena is like, because you're looking at basically a domesticated animal. Anybody else?
This isn't for the spotted hyena itself, but this is for the striped one.
Okay.
They had seen one that was just alone by itself and had no mother or anything else, and it was just a baby. So they were taking care of it until it was finally old enough to be out on its own. And they took it out. It was like it was sort of like out in the Middle East. So it was one of the striped ones.
Yeah.
And the first couple of days, it had a chapter established with it on the collar. And it had a very short, like a very shy attitude about going out in an evening where it had been dropped off.
Yeah, they would, yeah.
So like day 3, they started going up further and further, and we'd be away for like 18 hours before it come back to its simple spot and sleep. And even though it was alone, they all started to arrange. And I'm wondering, do all of them do that, or is it just the striped ones? Do the spotters also, like, even if they're alone, establish long range until they meet another one?
Well, I think the thing is that striped hyenas, brown hyenas, and spotted hyenas, and the aardwolves, mustn't forget them, they are distantly related in a way. I mean, spotted hyenas are crocuta crocuta. The others are hyena brunera, and Prostateles cristata, I think it is the aardwolf. They have their different behaviors. The spotted hyenas are clan animals, and they have large groups of family. I think if you dumped a baby spotted hyena that you would raise, like the little one, out there, he would die within a matter of days. I mean, he might find some food, but he would either try to find a clan or he would die. They need their backup. They need to work together as a unit. The striped hyenas are more solitary. They will stay in small family groups, like a male and a female, maybe a few of their adult children, and then their pups. More like a wolf pack, but they are also completely solitary individuals, especially like in the Namib Desert in Southwest Africa. And the brown hyenas are even more solitary than that. So, to answer your question, I think it is something specific to the striped hyena, that they are a much more solitary creature. And what it was doing was just going around and trying to find others of its kind and establishing a territory. Now, do you know if the story ended with the thing living there or just disappearing, or?
So the last I heard about it was a still very recent project, and where you left off, the hyena is still established in that area, and it hasn't met anybody else as far as they would know. But it's still an ongoing observation.
Yeah. So basically, they just took this animal and dumped it somewhere. It should do all right. I mean, as long as it's got adequate food, the source of water, it should be okay. As far as breeding's concerned, it's probably out of luck. You know? Come on, Craigslist. Go on, Craigslist. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
So addressing the other question about the animals and zoos and such. So domestication is usually over across generations, and socializing has to do with how much exposure an animal has to people, at what age, in what context. And there is, I don't know about the spotted hyenas in particular, but for gray wolves and red foxes, there are scientific journals going back to the 60s and 70s about basically right ways and wrong ways of going about studying their behavior and.
You basically don't want them to know you're there. With the hyenas, the researchers will use their jeeps as mobile blinds, partly because they can observe the animals without frightening them or scaring them, alarming them, but also because they're very dangerous, and there's been more than one researcher who's been chased up a tree by hyenas. But the hyenas get used to seeing the jeep, but if the guy opens the door, they take off running. They will come up, they will lie under the jeep, they will chew on the jeep, they will nose the jeep, check out to see. But they're very afraid of humans because humans have persecuted them. So you can't really get a good result just studying it with them knowing you're there. It's sort of like, what is it, not Schrodinger's cat, but if you observe the hyenas, they're going to be like, no, we aren't going to do anything interesting for you.
Heisenberg's uncertainty principle.
That's it.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, anybody else?
Well, you might mention that while they might be tameable, the people who do tame them.
Yeah.
There was the one guy who tames lions, and
I don't know if you've heard of this guy, but the Kevin Richardson fellow that I had the slide of with the hyena licking his face, he is amazing. He's the lion whisperer, and you look him up on YouTube, and he has ingratiated himself to a lion in pride, and he can roll around on the ground and hug them and live with them and hang out with them, and he's got a huge reserve down in South Africa. And he also started doing this with hyenas, and you kind of have to treat lions and hyenas differently. But it's just amazing. Hello, baby, how you doing? What you do? And then hyena goes, wagging its tail and rolling on the ground, climbing in his arms, chewing on his ear. But he has said that every one of his trips to the emergency room has been due to hyenas. So, no, they don't make good pets. Is that good, honey? They're like, okay, yeah, thank you. Anyhow, I've had a lot of fun researching these animals. As I said in the scripted part of this, I didn't know anything about hyenas when I started doing my strip back in 2004. I thought they were little, like Jackal size, and the only thing I had ever known about them was what I'd seen in The Lion King. Now, The Lion King is not really a good research tool to use about hyenas because, A, the people who drew it are very species confused. They have spotted and striped hyena characteristics in the same characters. And of course, it's sort of like, well, we need a bunch of dumb ninnies to be this guy's foil. And the people who worked with Berkeley Pack in California had invited Disney to come and study their hyenas. And then they wanted to sue Disney when they were done with the film and saw it. And they're like, oh my God, you have just set back hyena relations by like 1,000,000 years with this film. So that was all I knew about it. And with my cartoon characters, you'll notice that the main character, Kathy, has a white muzzle. And I did that because when I was drawing her for the first time, I was using a ballpoint pen, and when I tried to darken in the muzzle, I just lost all definition in the face. So when I switched to color, I just kept it the way it was. And yeah, that's wrong. They don't have white muzzles. They do not. But the more I studied them, the more fascinated I became with them because they're just such interesting creatures. And I don't know how many of you out there, I'm expecting all of you, actually like hyenas or find them interesting. But, over the last couple of years, there's been articles appearing, there's been YouTube videos appearing, people are knowing more about the spotted hyenas, and I started noticing that the ugly pictures you would get in Google image search of hyenas with their big mouths out and blood and guts all over them are now cute pictures of little fuzzy hyenas with smiles on their faces playing in puddles. So they are undergoing a change in people's perceptions of them. I don't think I had anything to do with that, but I was kind of there when hyenas weren't cool. Anyhow, I guess we're all done here. We have a drawing. If anybody has a few minutes and wants to enter the drawing for some of the artwork from the thing, I will be pulling the names out of the app in a few minutes. If not, just sit there and we'll get on with the drawing.